I just heard the call that Mission Control Houston is go for
Dragon
undocking.
SpaceX on the big loop. The final reconfigurations for Undock are complete and nominal. The ground is go for undocking at the Undocking Sequence start time of 23:30 GMT. Please confirm your visors are down and that you are ready for undock and departure.
Dragon copies, go for undock on time. Our visors are down and we're ready for departure.
We copy all.
And we just heard the confirmation. Dragon is a go to undock. So now we are waiting for the undocking sequence to actually begin, and they are targeting that for 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. So it looks like 8 minutes from now. And once that begins, it'll take less than 5 minutes for Dragon to separate from the International Space Station, which has called home for 2 months now.
Now, the first step in the undocking sequence, which is, again, automatic, is for the umbilicals that are providing power, telemetry, and commanding capability between the space station and Dragon for those to retract. Once those retract, we'll actually have Dragon perform an unlatch from the space station, releasing 12 hard capture hooks that are around the vestibule. Those hard capture hooks are what are providing that airtight seal around the vestibule, and they'll actually come in 2 separate phases. So we'll hear a call for 6 of those, and then we'll hear a call for all of those being detached. And then finally, after that entire process, which takes about 4.5 minutes, then Dragon will be ready to actually depart and push itself away and separate using its Draco thrusters.
Yeah, and so Dragon's initial departure from station is a little different from any of the other docked vehicles like the Soyuz, because that relies on springs to push them away from the docking port. In this case, Dragon will actually execute those 2 short thruster firings to undock. That uses a combination of those 12 Draco engines around the base of the capsule, with the first breaking any stiction between Dragon and the docking port, and the second slowly backing the spacecraft away. And so we're expecting the call for undocking sequence to begin in the next few minutes.
And the crew aboard, they will be able to see those transitions. So what will be happening here is the flight computers on the vehicle will issue themselves into a state when that command is issued. And actually on the crew displays, on every display, they've got a prominent location that shows what the current states are. They're also able to follow along and see what the state of the vehicle is. So those are the displays that they've got pulled up on their screen right now. That middle display actually has the cards that describe what they can expect to see, along with some inline telemetry that they're getting from the vehicle directly, as well as their current positioning relative to the International Space Station. And then they've also got some views on the side that are each of them in their respective displays that are showing a forward view of the spacecraft, as well as the status of those docking hooks. At this point, the umbilicals both still installed because that command has not been issued. And the vestibule should be pretty close to vacuum.
Getting closer every second to that undocking command being sent. We're looking for that in about 5 minutes from now.
Taking a look at data here, I see the vestibule is reading as 0.1 psi. So definitely not very friendly to humans.
Everything moving smoothly throughout the day to bring us to this point, with the crew ingressing Dragon, donning their suits, getting in their seats, closing the hatch, and then Chris Cassidy closing the A-Pass hatch on the station side, along with that Node 2 forward hatch, bringing that space down to as close to a vacuum as possible, and that's where we're at right now. Conducted some leak checks to ensure the seals between those hatches were solid. Everything looking good for an on-time departure today.
pretty comfy in the cabin right now. That vestibule is pretty near vacuum, but in the cabin, it's actually pretty close to what we would see at sea level, and still about 76 degrees in there. So pretty comfortable. Of course, Bob and Doug are only partially seeing that. Earlier, they closed down their visors, and so the suits that they're wearing protect them in the event of a depressurization event. They also protect them if there was a fire on board, as they're made of fire-resistant materials. And so as we're getting to this critical step of separating from the space station, if something were to go wrong here, those suits would provide that critical life support to them, pressurizing if the cabin pressure were to unexpectedly drop. It's actually part of the reason why we've spent so long in this vestibule depressurization. The operators, both on the space station side and the mission control Hawthorne side, scrutinizing the data for any indication of a leak through the forward hatch. Of course, that leak check performed earlier with no findings, showing that the vehicle is nominal and ready for undocking.
And as once we mentioned that undocking will take a few minutes before we actually see the separation occur. But once the command is sent, those 12 latches will be retracted. The umbilical will be disconnected. Dragon is already on internal power, however. It's not receiving any power from the International Space Station. But once that umbilical is retracted, those hooks are removed. Be looking for those 2 short bursts to send Dragon on its way, and then things will speed up with those departure burns afterward. Just a couple of minutes away from that on-time undocking. That'll be 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 11:30 p.m. GMT, or the time that the astronauts use aboard the International Space Station. Looking for the undocking command to be sent in just about 30 seconds.
And again, a quick preview of what we expect to happen. Umbilicals will retract, then we'll see those docking hooks disconnect, and then we'll actually see those undocking burns followed pretty shortly after by a departure burn.
Dragon SpaceX, undock sequence commanded.
Pepper copies.
So that undocking sequence right on time.
And that was 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, 11:30 p.m. GMT. The umbilical now retracting. The International Space Station flying 263 statute miles over Namibia in Africa.
Dragon SpaceX, umbilical demate complete and nominal.
There's confirmation of the umbilicals retracted, so no longer receiving power or data or commanding from the International Space Station. And there's a view on your screen of Dragon, currently in eclipse. Gary, how's it looking from mission control at Johnson?
We're looking good, Shiva. We are now inside the undocking sequence. Good umbilical retraction. Standing by for the driving of those hooks. There's 12 hooks that will be released in 2 gangs of 6. Standing by for the driving of the hooks. Here we have good motion on the primary set of hooks. Again, first set of hooks driving, the navigation light, the forward end of Dragon clearly visible from this view from one of the Japanese cameras. Again, we are inside of the undocking sequence now. Good umbilical retraction, and we're driving the first set of hooks.
Dragon SpaceX, first set of hooks open and nominal.
Copy nominal hooks in the first set.
The first 6 hooks have completed their driving. First set down. The second set is now driving. We're now committed to undock. Seeing good motion on that second set of hooks. Continuing to drive. These will be the final set of hooks. There's 6 of them holding Dragon into place now. Afterwards, we'll conduct 2 undocking burns to physically separate Dragon.
Dragon SpaceX, all hooks open and nominal.
All hooks open.
Dragon departing.
Dragon SpaceX, separation confirmed.
Copy, separation
Great
confirmed.
burns. Physical separation, 4:35 p.m. Pacific. Thrusters looking good. Counting down to a nominal departure burn 0 coming up shortly.
Dragon SpaceX, depart burn 0 complete.
Copy complete. We're visors up.
And you heard depart burn 0 complete, that 12-second firing, moving Dragon slightly faster away from the International Space Station using those service section Dracos. And with that, Bob and Doug have concluded their stay aboard the International Space Station. They're on their way back to planet Earth. Confirms a physical separation at 4:35 p.m. Pacific as the station and Dragon were flying 267 statute miles over Johannesburg, South Africa. 2 good undocking burns and a nominal departure burn 0. Next departure burn coming up in about 5 minutes. We'll be monitoring Crew Dragon throughout the departure sequence, but with Dragon flying free, that'll do it from us here in Mission Control Houston. Godspeed, Bob and Doug. To take you through the rest of the departure sequence, we'll send you back over to Hawthorne.
Thanks, Gary. Departure burn 0 sets Crew Dragon, Endeavour, and Bob and Doug on their journey home. Dragon ship Endeavour is now on a trajectory to head up and over the station before additional maneuvers will change its orbital path to take it below and in front of the station. Dragon will autonomously accomplish that through 3 additional departure burns, with that next one coming up in just a couple of minutes to get Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley well away from the space station and on their way home.
Beautiful view, just had a beautiful view there of the relative navigation sensors providing an infrared view of the International Space Station as Bob and Doug drift away from it. And of course, as they are drifting away, going into that slightly higher orbit, just because of balancing the force of gravity along with their centripetal acceleration, they will move a little bit slower than the space station. And so we'll expect space station to sort of drift ahead, and then as they conduct those additional burns, getting out of the approach ellipsoid and the keep out sphere, then they will come back down below space station with their apogee being about 10 kilometers below space station and slowly reducing their perigee.
Next up in just a couple of minutes, scheduled for 4:40 p.m. Pacific time and 11:40 p.m. GMT will be depart burn 1. That's a 20-second burn to further increase the opening rate between Crew Dragon and the International Space Station.
Yeah, and that view, what we just previously had, and you can actually see it on the right-hand screen of Bob's display, is a relative navigation sensor that's providing an infrared view from the forward hatch of Dragon, looking back towards the forward module of the International Space Station. So that's where Dragon has been for the last 63 days. Coming up in less than a minute is departure burn number 1. This burn coming just about 5 minutes after separation. And this is going to increase that opening rate between the space station and Dragon.
And separation occurred on time today, as with everything else occurring on schedule, sending Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley back toward Earth, back toward home.
So very, very exciting moment. We should expect to hear a call out here for departure burn number 1. Departure burn number 1 is pretty short. It only lasts about 21 seconds, but it's the burn that's going to get us on our way up, out, and away through the keep out sphere and through the approach ellipsoid. Again, the keep out sphere, about 200-meter sphere around the International Space Station, and the approach ellipsoid, 4 by 4 by 2 kilometer ellipse. If you imagine 2 Central Parks in New York City next to each other, that's about how big that is. Just guidance references for visiting vehicles.
And we're seconds away now from departure burn 1. These are autonomous burns. Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley are not pushing any buttons to make this happen. These are programmed into Dragon, and we will be looking for that in just a few seconds from now.
That's a view from the space station. Those 2 lights, the green light is the view that on the right-hand side of the Dragon vehicle. That would be the side that Bob Behnken was sitting on, and the red light, the side that Doug Hurley was sitting on. It's actually made pretty quick work getting away from the station. Gonna look up some data, see if I can get the actual distance to station right now.
And departure burn 1 has begun, that 20-second burn. This will also take it outside of the keep out sphere and outside of the approach ellipsoid, and after complete,
Dragon SpaceX, depart burn 1 complete. Nominal burn, you are go to doff your suits per procedure 4.012. Reminder that the ground will be deactivating the big loop following exit from the approach ellipsoid, which is approximately 12 to 14 minutes from now.
Okay. Station Endeavor on the big loop.
Go ahead, Endeavor.
Chris, we just can't thank you enough. It's been an honor and a privilege to be part of Expedition 63 with you, Anatoly, and Yvonne. It's been a great 2 months, and we appreciate all you've done as a crew to help us prove out Dragon on its maiden flight. I'd also like to thank Zeb and his team in Mission Control in Houston for the incredible amount of work they did to make the dock to ops successful for Dragon, and also the teams at SpaceX that keep us going towards the end of our mission that we look forward to splashdown tomorrow. I'd also like to wish you a great success on the rest of your expedition and a safe flight home in the fall. Take care, friend.
Endeavor,
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Anatoly. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Houston, and thank you, SpaceX.
Endeavor Station, Bob and Doug wholeheartedly agree with those sentiments. It's been a real pleasure. It's been an honor to serve with you. Safe travels and have a successful landing. Endeavor's a great ship. Godspeed.
Endeavor copies all. Thanks, Chris.
And we just heard some kind words exchanged between Crew Dragon Endeavor with Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley now on their way home.
ISS and Dragon on the big loop. Endeavor has exited the keep out sphere. See you guys when you're back home.